Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to go over the Wordly Wise Book 4, Lesson 3 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started. The first word is approach. Approach can be used as a verb and it means to go closer to. For example, the vet approached the wounded deer carefully. So in this sentence, the vet is going closer to the deer in a very careful way so that it doesn't get scared away. People always say when you approach a dog that you don't know, you should be very careful. You should offer your hand for the dog to smell it first. So here too, we need to approach the dog carefully. Anytime that you're getting closer to something, we can use this word approach as the action. And approach can also be used as a noun. In this way, it means a coming closer, like something is getting closer to happening. For example, my grandparents dread the approach of winter. So here, the thing that is getting closer is winter. So we often use this word to talk about seasons that are going to come soon, like the approach of winter, or I can't wait for the approach of summer, for example. And the last way that we can use this word is to mean a road or way that leads to a place. For example, the approach to the beach was blocked by a fallen tree. So here's an example of what that might look like. There's a little way here between the street and the beach. So that's what I can call the approach. This way of using the word is less common than the other two ways. It's much more common to hear a sentence like, the approach of the storm made the sky dark, because the storm is coming closer, so the sky became dark. The next word is burrow. Burrow can be used as a verb and it means to dig a hole or tunnel into or under something. For example, turtles burrow into soft sand to lay their eggs. So they dig into that sand and then they lay their eggs there. There's many animals who like to burrow into the ground. Usually dogs enjoy digging holes in backyards, so I could say something like, the dog tried to burrow under the fence. And we can also use burrow to mean to dig deeply into, to search. For example, my teacher burrowed through the pile of papers on his desk to find my test. So you can imagine someone is looking through many different items, trying to find something, and we can use this word burrow in that situation instead of just saying looking for. So I could also say, she burrowed through her backpack to find her notebook. Or someone might burrow through a drawer looking for a pencil. Anytime we're trying to find something, usually in a messy area, this is a great word to use. And lastly, burrow can also be used as a noun, and it is a hole or tunnel dug by an animal as a home or for protection. For example, a mole spends most of its time in its burrow. And here are some examples of burrows. As you can see in the pictures, they are just little holes in the ground where animals might hide or where they might live. The next word is cease. Cease just means to stop, to come or bring to an end. So anytime that something stops completely, we can say that it ceased. The example says, after several hours of thunder and lightning, the storm finally ceased. So the storm stopped. I could use this word in a similar way to say, the rain ceased by the afternoon. So maybe it was raining in the morning, but it finally ceased in the afternoon. Another way I could use this word is by saying the teacher asked the class to cease talking. So she asked them to stop talking. And maybe I could also say, the music suddenly ceased. Imagine if he was listening to music, but it suddenly stopped. So I can say it ceased. The next word is destructive. Destructive can be used as an adjective and it means causing harm or damage. For example, mice can be very destructive pests. Mice can cause a lot of harm or damage in a home because they might eat through wires. And another pest that can be destructive is the termite. They are insects that like to eat wood. So if there is a home made out of wood or if there are many wooden things in a home and termites find their way there, then it can be very destructive. And another thing that we can use this word with is the behavior of people or animals. I can say this puppy was destructive because it chewed through the shoes. So an animal or a person might have some destructive behavior. And we can also use this word as a noun, but it changes to destruction. It means harm or damage. And the example says, when Hurricane Katrina hit the Louisiana coast, it caused great destruction. So something like a hurricane or a tornado might cause a lot of damage, and we can use this word destruction instead of saying the word damage. It's a synonym. So here you can see there was a lot of destruction caused by a tornado in this picture. Another thing that might cause a lot of destruction is an earthquake or some similar natural event like a fire. Our next word is drowsy. Drowsy is an adjective and it means tired or sleepy. So when someone is drowsy, they are feeling tired and sleepy, but they are not asleep yet. And usually people feel drowsy when things like the weather is warm or they're in a quiet place, or maybe if they're on a long trip, then that might cause you to feel drowsy. The example sentence says, lying in the sun always makes my cat drowsy. So again, when someone is drowsy, they might feel like their eyes are starting to close, their head might be moving around from side to side as if they're about to fall asleep, but they are not 100% asleep yet. Some sentences I could make with this word are, the warm room made everyone drowsy, or after lunch he felt drowsy in class, or the long car ride made the baby drowsy. Our next word is famished. Famished means very hungry. And the example sentence says, sometimes I forget to eat my lunch, so by supper time I am famished. So someone who is famished is much more hungry than usual. It's a stronger word than just saying someone is hungry. And we often use it when we really want to show someone exactly how hungry we are. So I could say something like, after soccer practice, I was famished. Maybe I ran around and exercised so much that I am extremely hungry. So I can use this word famished to express how hungry I am. I could also say the hikers were famished after walking all day. It's another situation where there was a lot of moving and exercise, so a person is probably very hungry. And by the time dinner was ready, the kids were famished. So maybe it took a long time to prepare dinner and that made everyone feel very, very hungry. Our next word is forecast. Forecast can be used as a verb and it means to figure out and say what will happen before it takes place. So basically you are predicting or guessing what you think will happen in the future. And we often use this word to talk about weather, but it can also be used for any kind of prediction or guess about some events or the result of something. The example sentence here says, "Our fishing guide forecast a good catch." So this sentence means that there are maybe some people going fishing and they have a guide who is showing them what to do. And the guide is forecasting that they will get a good catch. So he thinks or he guesses that the people going fishing will get a good catch. Maybe they will catch a very large fish. And he probably forecasts this because he has some information about maybe how many fish are in the area, or he knows that the weather is really good for fishing that day. So he's making his forecast based on some information that he already has. I could also say something like, "The weather reporter forecast rain tomorrow." And that's the second way that we use this word. It means a telling of what will happen. For example, as soon as Carlos gets up, he turns on the weather forecast. A weather forecast is done to tell people what scientists think the weather will be like in that day or in that week. So that way people have an idea about how they need to dress, or they can make plans for their week depending on the forecast. So the scientists might forecast good weather, or scientists might forecast strong winds during a storm. Do you usually watch the weather forecast on the news at home? Our next word is hibernate. Hibernate is a verb, and it is to spend the winter in a resting state. For example, groundhogs hibernate because they cannot find enough food in the winter. So there are many animals that hibernate during winter, and when they are hibernating, they usually stay inside of their home for many, many months. They might not move a lot, and they usually don't eat a lot. That way they can stay in that area without losing too much energy. So anytime that an animal is sleeping for a long time, we can use this word, hibernate, to describe what they are doing. So I could say, bears hibernate in caves during winter. Or some animals hibernate until spring arrives. And another way of using this word, you can kind of use it to say something like, during the winter, I feel like I want to hibernate. So obviously people don't hibernate, but maybe you get that feeling of wanting to sleep or wanting to save your energy when the weather is cold. So you can use this word hibernate too during those times. Next is the word migrate, and there's 3 different ways that we can use migrate. First, as a verb, migrate means to move from one country or region to another. For example, hundreds of thousands of people have migrated to the United States in search of freedom. So this sentence is talking about people moving from one country to the United States. And people can migrate and animals can also migrate. Often when we use this word migrate, we're talking about animals that are moving to a different place because they're trying to escape cold weather or because they're searching for food. So I could make a sentence like, many birds migrate south for the winter. Or sometimes fish migrate up rivers to lay their eggs. And of course, people may migrate to new places to find jobs. So we can use this word migrate for any of those situations where people or animals are moving from one place to another. And from the word migrate also comes migration. Migration is now a noun, and it is just the act of migrating. So this whole event of animals or people migrating, we can change it to a noun by changing it to migration. The example says, my friend Sandhya is studying Indian migration to the United States. A different example of this is something like, the migration of birds begins in the fall. So that event, the act of them going from one place to another, the migration, begins in the fall. Or I could say something like, scientists study the migration of whales. Again, migration is just talking about the act of them moving from one place to another during a certain time. And the last way that we can use this word migrate is as an adjective, but it changes to migratory. And migratory is moving from one place or country to another, usually regularly. The meaning is the same, but this time it's an adjective that's used to describe a noun. So the example says, Canada geese are migratory birds. You can see here migratory is describing these animals, these geese. I could also say something like ducks are migratory birds. They are birds who migrate, just like the Canada geese. So this adjective migratory is most often used with animals, not so much with people. Our next word is nestle. Nestle is a verb and it means to settle down comfortably, as if in a nest. That's why it starts with the word nest here. So whenever someone nestles, they are trying to get cozy, maybe in a very peaceful place. They're just trying to rest comfortably. The example says, I like to nestle into bed with a good book, just like in this picture here. You can see that the girl is very comfortable and cozy with a soft blanket in her bed while reading a book, so I can say she is nestled into her bed. And we can also say it means to lie in a sheltered, partly hidden place. The example says, the little Swiss town was nestled at the foot of the mountains. So just like in this picture here, imagine that there is a very small town that's kind of in between two larger mountains. It's kind of hidden away, but it looks very cozy and small. So I can say that this town is nestled by these mountains or at the foot of the mountain. And I could also say here in this picture, the kitten nestled into the warm blanket. So it's kind of hidden and sheltered away under these blankets. It might be hard to find the kitten if you're looking for it and you don't know that it's nestled in the blankets. So we can use this word in both ways, either just to say that someone is very comfortable in a spot or is kind of sheltered or hidden a little bit. The next word is observe, and there are 4 different ways that we can use this word. It is a verb, and the first way we use it means to see, to notice. And this is the most common way of using this word. Anytime that we see or notice something, we can say that we observed it. The example says, I looked up at the sky and observed a hawk circling slowly far above us. I could also say something like, we observed the stars through a telescope. So we use this telescope to see or notice them a little bit more closely. The next way that we use this word is to comment, to remark. For example, sleepily, I observed that it was time to leave. This way of using the word is not very common. You might see this in a book or a scientific article maybe, but people don't commonly use this word to say that it is a comment or a remark. Most often, people will just use the word said instead. Like someone said it was time to leave, not someone observed it was time to leave. So be careful with this usage of the word. The next way that we use this word is to mark an event or day. For example, we observed Martin Luther King Day by doing volunteer work. So this way of using the word is common, and I could say something like, the class observed Earth Day by planting trees. So we're using observed to mean that they are following the traditions or the activities of a certain holiday or special event, for example. The last way we use this word is as to obey. So the example says, I try to observe the rules at the swimming pool. So someone is trying to obey or follow the rules, and we're using this word observe instead of saying follow. So I could make some sentences like, visitors must observe the park rules. So if you go to a park, you might see a sign with some rules like this, and you must follow or observe these rules. You can think about it as people have to pay close attention or notice these rules. So that's why we're using observe in this way to mean obey or follow. Another example is, drivers should observe the speed limit. So they must follow whatever the speed limit sign says. If it says 35, then they must go at 35. So we use the word observe in this way just to mean you are following or obeying some kind of rule. Our next word is prepare. Prepare is a verb and it means to make or get ready. The example says, the scouts prepared for their camping trip by getting lots of freeze-dried food. So in this sentence, there are some scouts going camping and they are getting ready or preparing for their trip. Another thing that you might prepare, for example, could be ingredients before you're getting ready to cook something. Or you might prepare for a trip that you want to go on, maybe by searching some locations that you want to visit while you're on that trip. So these are examples of things that you can prepare. And we can also use this word as a noun, but it changes to preparation. And preparation is something done to get ready. For example, Antonio and Ruth did most of the preparation for the cookout the night before. So in this sentence, these two people are having a cookout or kind of like a party where they invite people over and there's lots of delicious food. So they prepared for that the night before. So we can say all of the preparation or all of the things that they needed to do was done the night before. I could also use this word to say something like, the team did a lot of preparation before the big game. So they did a lot of things to get ready. We can also say, we finished the preparation for the party in the morning. In this picture, you can see everyone is getting ready for some kind of party. So they are doing the preparation or the things that need to get done. Our next word is reduce. Reduce can be used as a verb to mean to make or become smaller or less. So when we're reducing something, we are making it less. The example says, to stay healthy, we will reduce the amount of salt we put in our food. So anyone who is trying to get healthy knows that they need to reduce salt and also sugar. We can also use this word to say something like, exercise can help reduce stress. There's a lot of different things we can do to reduce or make our stress less, like exercising, maybe playing with a pet, meditating, listen to music, or even just taking a nap can help someone reduce their stress. Another thing that we could try to reduce is electricity use. So I could say turning off the lights can reduce electricity use. And we can also use this word as a noun, but it does change to reduction. And it means the act of reducing or the amount by which something is reduced. For example, the store sold out of swimsuits after its huge price reduction. So this is a very common way of using this word, especially in stores. Sometimes they will have some kinds of sales and then there will be a reduction in the price. So the price will become less. So in this picture, you can see the old price was $3.99 and there was a reduction and now the price became $2.89. So it became less. You could also use this word to say something like, the medicine caused a reduction in pain. So it made something smaller. Our next word is severe. Severe is an adjective, and the first meaning is very strict or harsh. The example says, failing the class is a severe punishment for turning a paper in late. So what this is saying is that there was something bad that someone did, so they shouldn't have done that. But the punishment for whatever action was too harsh or too big. So we can use this word severe to describe that kind of situation. For example, imagine if you fell asleep only one time in class, but then the punishment was that you had to go to detention every day for a week just because you fell asleep one time. So the punishment doesn't really match the action. Or let's say that you forgot to clean your room one time, and the punishment for that was losing your video games, not being able to eat candy, and not being able to use the computer. So it's a very severe or very strict or harsh kind of punishment. You could also use this word to mean hard to bear or deal with. For example, a severe snowstorm means we get a snow day. So here, this word now means that something is very difficult for people, like weather can be very severe. There can be severe snowstorms, there can be severe tornadoes or lightning storms or hail that can be very hard for the people who are living in that area. So it's described as severe. Another example of something like this could even be a headache. I can say, I had a severe headache, so I stayed home from school. So we can use this word severe in these two ways, when something is very strict or harsh, or when something is difficult for people to deal with. Our last word is venture. Venture can be used as a verb and it means to dare to do, to go, or to say. So you are daring to do something. You are going to do something even though it might be risky or scary for you to do that thing. For example, Maria ventured onto the dance floor even though she did not know how to dance. So in this sentence, the scary or the risky thing is that she did not know how to dance. But even though she was worried about that, she still ventured or she still went onto the dance floor. So ventured kind of means that you are going or doing something, but the important part is that it is a little bit daring, a little bit risky, or a little bit scary for that person. So I could also say something like, the men ventured into the dark cave with flashlights. So they went into this dark cave, even though it might be risky or dangerous for them, they still went in. And we can also use ventured as a noun. And this time it is something that involves the risk of a loss. The example sentence says, Grandpa's most successful venture was a carpet cleaning service. So we use this word as a noun a lot when we're talking about businesses. So someone might start a business even though they know that there is a risk that they might lose their money because of starting that business. So I could make a sentence like, starting the small shop was a big venture for the family. It was a big risk for them, even though they really wanted to have their own shop or their own business. It was still risky, so we can talk about it as a venture. So a lot of times this word venture will be together with the word business. I could say they worked together on a business venture. The important thing to remember about both of the ways we use this word is that there is some kind of risk or a fear of it going bad when we say this word. So it's not just that they did something, but they did something even though it was scary or risky. And that's all for this video. We went over the Wordly Wise book 4 words. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!